Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another MAMG Let's Play of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. When we left off, we finished the second part of the trial for the second day and learned a lot about Officer Marshall and what his part is in this case. Now, he has a younger brother who was killed in the SL9 incident, and also he was pretending to be Detective Goodman when Officer Meekins ran into him in the evidence room. A lot of stuff's going on, and we need to do a lot more investigating before we'll be able to come to the truth. So I do think this is going to be a two-parter. I think it's going to be about a 45-minute long episode, and I'll do the rest in the next part, because the investigation parts don't have a break. They just keep going. And the last two times I did the investigation phases, they were pretty long. So we'll break them apart at about midway through. I think 45 minutes should be good, but we'll see where it goes. Let's learn some brand new facts, shall we? I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Oh, that's right. She said she was forging evidence. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. Yeah, that's a bit troublesome. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dark killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you... Yes. I was a witness to the Joe Dark trial. I didn't see that one coming. Seriously, we need to talk to her. Get some facts out of her. Alright. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Dark. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. Permanent picture? Okay. I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall. So you weren't able to testify about that? No. I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true. Even though he may not have known it, Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. Makes sense. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently, I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You must have been through so much. So if he passed out, something could have happened. Because we know that's what happened with the Edgeworth, was that his past memories weren't 100% what they were supposed to be because he passed out. So there could be a hint of truth in what she's saying, but of course, she could be remembering it incorrectly from her perspective. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago. You must have been 14. That's understandable. Man, 14 years old and witnessing a murder. It'd be tough. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor. Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective offices and the questioning room are right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly. Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. What? She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? I'd better have another talk with her. Yo, what? How do you go from detective to prosecutor? That's a weird shift. Alright, let's talk to her. Hopefully she'll give us some information. She loves to not tell us anything, though. Hi, Lana. Lana. Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul. Why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about that unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. Yes, I do. You guys keep hiding stuff. It makes it so hard to find the truth. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one, 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen. I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15, there was no murder at the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana. What the witness, Miss Starr, said about you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so fazed before. Yeah, look at her. She's hiding something. It's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing. They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? Then he was the vice head of criminal affairs, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed. Emma really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes, so you could later use that experience in court. Gant's help in the SL9 case was critical in its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. Alright, let's see what we got here. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the chief detective was, no doubt, Damon Gant. Yes, Detective Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. I bet. He's all worked up. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when the last murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us. Okay, so she was first there. Detective Gant and Prosecutor Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages, when Dark must have panicked. He waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Detective Gant and myself. That's where he found me. So, you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana. It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. Oh wait, that's how they looked? That's not how I imagined the bodies would be. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect, Joe Dark. During the struggle, it seemed Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and laid unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her. Can't blame her. After all, her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Dark immediately under arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident. That's right. Quite a coincidence, I don't buy it. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident. Just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself. The Chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the Chief's office, the site of the final SL9 murder. Yeah, I think we need to do that. Can we go there? We need to go to Criminal Affairs, right? Work our way over. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kind of quiet around here today. You're right. The head of the department seems the same, though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. That's fine. I just want to see if I can go... police department entrance, okay? We may run into some people on our way over, but I think this is where we need to be. Oh, hey! Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall. I never thought things turned out this way when I woke up this morning. Que Sarah. You never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. But, Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. Okay, talk to him while we can. Something was fishy about that trough in the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Dark's, alright. But, in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars on all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind. Scars? Okay. I got the looks, if he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he? Your brother? He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You don't mean... King of Prosecutors. Not that again. What are you looking at me like that for? It's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day of the SL9 incident took place. That wasn't the same day as... That's right. It was the day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall, there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently, someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. True. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. No, they were careful enough not to be too obvious. They? Who are you talking about? Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Sky. Okay? Chief Detective Damon Gant and his second in command, Lana Sky. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After that case ended, Lena transferred. Sorry, it's Phoenix. Sorry. After the case ended, Lena transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah. Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she's left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Sky was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lena's secret? It all started 2 years ago. Aw, no, don't leave yet. So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. Well, someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Aww. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. Aww. Bye. Okay, so we can't go inside. So I guess the underground parking lot's where we need to go next. Miss Star, are you here today as well? No one's here today. Not even Miss Star. Everyone's probably busy looking into exactly what went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are. But we proved in court today that no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime. Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case. But instead, it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty. Hang in there, Lana. I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. Okay. So, let's go to the High Prosecutor's office. Edgeworth, you home? Mr. Edgeworth isn't here. Maybe he's being questioned by an inquiry committee. He took a real beating in court today. Yeah, with Lena admitting to falsifying evidence 2 years ago. I guess we'll just have to come back later. Okay. Where else can I go then? Where haven't we gone? I don't know. That's weird. I'm really at a loss. Should we talk to... Oh! Something's happening. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted. That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes. Oh, if you're looking for the other officers, they're all in the conference room. Thanks. Wow, he actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth. Not to mention our statement to the media in tomorrow's trial. There's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those. Sir, we'd like to have a look around Chief Gant's office. Just head across the hall to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor. Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. Since we're not allowed, let's go. Okay? Got a freaking like... What is that? It's... Oh my god, the music. Okay. I'm just gonna soak it in. Whoa. Where am I? In the chief's office, silly. At least, that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? That's what I was gonna say, the organ's insane. Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. Thank you. Please don't. I never could remember where C was. Hmm? Oh. Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. So, Mr. Wright, have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct, and Lana's provocative statement. Provocative statement? Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies. See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it though. Well, we took a picture of the picture, so we're good. Are we gonna be able to talk to you, or? Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm gonna lock up here, so let's go out together. Oh, but this office, it was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate it anymore. Now, hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend. We got kicked out. Politely kicked out. Looks like we weren't welcome. It seems that case isn't over with yet, after all. What do you mean? Chief Gant denied our request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there. You mean, like a clue? There's gotta be a way we can get inside the chief's office. Okay, let's talk to Lana. Yeah, let's talk to Lana because she may know a back way or something, or a secret hideout that, you know, Gant doesn't use. I don't know. Can we talk to her about anything? No. Can I show her this picture that they took? Attorneys and prosecutors have no business showing evidence outside court. It's taboo, especially when the interests of both parties are involved. She really means it. Lana. Okay, thanks, Lana. I'm gonna see you later then. Good talk. I'm glad we could have that wonderful conversation. I need to find somebody to talk to. Edgeworth, are you home yet? No. Where are you at? I need you to hurry up. Okay, can we go back to the police department entrance? And maybe go into criminal affairs. Here we go. Hey, pal. Detective Gumshoe, were you in a meeting? I was, just taking a breather. My feet hurt. From sitting so long in the meeting? Actually, I had to serve everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No. Why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battle's between you two in court. That sounds serious. Is it because of what my sister said? That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood. Yikes. Yay, Gumshoe! I missed you, buddy. But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, the prosecutor's responsible for the evidence he presents in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. Those who don't like him haven't been able to do anything because of his amazing talent as a prosecutor. But now with this. Are there really so many people who hate him? In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only had that, but he's young. There's no better recipe I know for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime. My treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir. It seems you don't have any problem with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. It's not good for him. Actually, I took a look at that file earlier, while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find out anything? The only evidence Dark left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean when he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was trying to protect some girl? Oh, it wasn't some girl. Me. It seems Detective Gumshoe never realized Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what was it? Oh, let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder weapon. Yeah, I forget. Look, that's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. Maybe it will, but let's finish talking to him first. Joe Dark was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? What made him take the serial killing? One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. With his car? So, it was an accident. An accident, yes, but he transformed him into an animal. An animal? He killed the man that witnessed the accident. Then, he killed the lady who saw the second crime. A kid walked by just then too, so he killed him. Oh my god. Jogger came into the scene and killed him as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Why did Gumshoe not let me actually read that? Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Of course, this is all conjecture. There was no single shred of evidence. So, he turned himself in. Yes, but in the middle of questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim. Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone too, but fortunately, he was arrested on the spot. It's all a good thing that the witness wasn't killed. That last witness, he must mean Emma. Poor Emma. She's gone through a lot. I know I've said that, but she really has. About this. Hey, don't tell me this. It has a tag attached to it with the label SL9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker. On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker and was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what is it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again. Hurry, before your brain doesn't work. Alright, tell me what it is. This knife. It was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at, and it had his fingerprints on it too. But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at the knife, you'll see it's broken. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah? Well, anyway. Take a guess where this broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in. Where was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet. Down to the last fiber. That's pretty conclusive. But is that what was forged? That's what I'm wondering. Well, there you have it in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gant. It's not money, but it does concern the chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered. The chief's out now and his office is locked. But we'd like to have a look around if that's okay. Well, any detective's ID card can unlock the door. What? Really? But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust.
Breach of trust?
Simply put, I'd be canned.
Oh.
Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you.
How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's.
That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died.
Oh.
So in other words, Gumshoe is our only chance of getting into that office.
I wonder if there's something we could show him that would make him change his mind.
Something to show him? What about this picture? Let me share a little advice with you as a detective. If you don't have a clue, keep your trap shut.
I'll keep that in mind.
Sheesh. Alright, fine. I'll touch your report. Nope. SL9 files. I've been studying up on those files. There's nothing wrong with Mr. Edgeworth's presentation. To think people are accusing him of injustice. I, for one, ain't buying it, pal.
You're looking into the case for Mr. Edgeworth?
Yeah. It was a pretty big deal while it was going on, you know? After all, a serial killer was on the loose.
But Lana was pretty clear in her confession. She forced evidence in order to prove Joe Dark guilty.
Can we talk to him about that? No? Is there anything else I can present to you? I don't think so. Alright, let's go around and see if, Edgeworth's back or anybody else is back that we can talk to. Because we need something else. Edgeworth, are you back yet, buddy? I know you got a lot going on, but I need to talk to you if I can. Yes!
I wonder if Edgeworth is back yet. There he is. It looks like he's writing something.
Huh? What are you doing here?
He sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor.
Tough day in court, huh? I've had to live the past 2 years with rumors flying around. What's another allegation to me?
Cheer up, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm rooting for you.
That's Edgeworth for you.
Almost trying to hide his real feelings.
So, what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. Well, let's talk first. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago, I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. That's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I can do can erase that fact.
But you didn't know, did you? I mean, that the evidence was falsified.
The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error, and my responsibility as the prosecutor in charge. That fact remains the same, no matter what excuses I might have.
Mr. Edgeworth.
I take pride in my work. So tell me why. Why has it all come down to this?
Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up.
It sucks.
Are you up for the trial tomorrow?
First, last year's trial, and now this one. It seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves.
But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial.
Tomorrow's the last day. It's too late to change prosecutors. I'll bet that's what my superiors are banking on. I never thought that case would come back to haunt me like this.
What do you mean?
That list of evidence. It seems too short. Most lists run twice as long.
It's only half as long as most lists? That's odd.
After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for that case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but at the time, there was only one thing on my mind. I'd use the evidence I was given to prove the suspect guilty.
Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time. That picture. Something seems strange about it.
Yeah, but we got to talk about the day of the crime first.
Could you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered. You were participating in the ceremony over at the station, right?
I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one.
Because you were awarded this.
Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. I finished up at the office in the morning, then drove over to the police department.
You finished up at the office?
Yes, just odds and ends, clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is, until I was asked to take something back.
Take something back?
This.
Oh yeah, Chief Gant asked you to hold on to that, didn't he?
Yes, it was a piece of evidence in the case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring it back to the prosecutor's office.
That's the story we heard yesterday. So you came back here to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to?
That's right. Interesting. Alright, so let's present the picture to him.
This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office.
Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He had just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was taken when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy.
Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me.
Yes?
The trophy Mr. Marshall's holding. It's a little different than yours.
Yes, you're right. I remember now.
Remember what?
That was the official prosecutor trophy used until that time. There's a story behind it.
A story?
Sounds interesting.
Would you mind telling it to us?
It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. That wasn't very simple. I don't get it. This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with two characters. The first meaning halberd, and the second meaning shield. Have you heard the story?
Me?
Oh, sure. Everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it, though? For Emma's sake. Very well. I love how he just, like, completely just rolls with it. Oh, this music. Long ago in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day he presented the king with two items. The first was a halberd he could slice through any shield or armor. The second was a shield he claimed could withstand any weapon. Wait a minute.
Those claims contradict each other.
Very perceptive. But then again, you've heard the story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very descriptions of both these items discredit them. When the king pointed out this, the merchant was left speechless. And thus, the Chinese word for contradiction was born. Is that really how it went?
Oh, I see. So the chipped shield and broken knife symbolize...
Precisely so. They symbolize the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words. But it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion, even if it results in something as ugly as this.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Mr. Edgeworth. I learned something new today. That's funny. If that's so, then why were you only given a shield?
You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished.
Chief Gant.
Really? I think that's everything for you, Edgy. I don't know. Oh, okay. So I don't know where Gant is.
Excuse me. Would either of you care for a quarter pound of roast beef? Miss Starr, I guess she's out of lunches. You certainly are the curious sort, aren't you? Kind of like the first person who sucked the cow's nipple to discover milk.
Weird, but okay.
Still, I never thought you'd go digging up that case from 2 years ago. Everyone in this trial was involved in the SL9 incident. Not only that, but the murder occurred on the very day the evidence from that case was due for transferal. This can't be attributed to mere coincidence. Aren't you forgetting something? You know, that little scene I happened to witness. The instant Lana stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. No matter how much of the past you dig up, it won't change what I saw. Roast beef is meant to be savored when eaten. Miss Starr's hatred toward Lana. It all dates back to 2 years ago.
Alrighty. You know what? I think that's a good place to stop it. We'll go ahead and save Miss Starr's story for next time, and then we'll be able to talk to Gumshoe, figure out a way to get into Gant's office so that we can investigate the crime scene, and I don't know what else is going to happen from there. We may run into even more people, but yeah, that seems like a good stopping point, and it's been about 45 minutes or so, so I'll go ahead and call this one good, and then we will finish the episode, or at least the investigation part, in the next episode. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next MAMJ. Let's play. We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No!